Buongiorno. Guess what country we're visiting today? You got it. We're visiting Italy. This is Marilyn Price in the wonder-filled world of puppets, Italian style. So we have discussed the incredible puppets from Germany. We will move around the globe discussing a few countries more, sometimes even making them partners or allies. All those puppets get along really well because puppets speak all languages. Today, we are, as I mentioned, visiting the country of Italy, where puppets are magic and have always been magic, starting a long time ago. So I'm going to take you briefly through some history, but first I'd like to introduce you to a picture over to my immediate right here. Maybe your left, I'm not sure. This is just the bottom, if you can imagine, and it is a picture of a most remarkable tree, a cypress, which is the tree, the national tree of the country of Italy, and painted by a most remarkable artist who painted it on. Why would I love this? Me, who makes puppets out of everything, painted it on a slat, a wooden slat that goes underneath a bed. It's an oil painting. On the very bottom, if you peek really well, is a picture of a little boy. That happens to be his little boy. His name is Giacomo Santorelli, not the boy, the artiste. And this is such a wonderful treat to see when I walk into my house and see this incredible picture. But I am sure that if he were so inclined, he would be involved in the magic, wonderful world of puppets too, because that is what the creative souls do. Create new things out of everyday objects and then take a traditional subject and make it magic as well. So here we go. We're going to start way back. And I have just a model of one of these because the original puppets, of which still do exist, but not in my house, were about 6 feet plus, and they're made of metal, very heavy. And what are they, you may say? They sound like they can almost be battaliers, or soldiers in battle. And oh yes, they were. So this is a model that was given to me by a friend of mine who's involved in the arts as well. She was involved with the National Endowments for the Arts. So here he is. He's a puppet. And what these puppets would do, made of metal and very heavy, I think they may have even had real blades, was they would battle each other. And that was the entire sum of the story, was the battling of some group against another. It's a beautifully created, crafted puppet. And just a model. And as you can see, he's a little beaten up because he goes to schools with me in libraries and other places where I can show them what different countries show in their puppets. Look at that beautiful face. Is he amazing? Amazing puppet. Thank you. I would imagine the originals were about 1,000 years old. So we're going to put him down here. He can fight his own battles, so to speak. So we're going to move around a little bit. Now, here's one you undoubtedly know because it is a story told and retold about one of the most famous puppets. His name was Pinocchio. And I will be quite honest with you, I have never told the story of Pinocchio because it is something that's told a lot of. I use some of the characters, but it is interesting to me how the theme of Pinocchio follows through in a lot of other stories that we tell. In a story that I just visited in Germany, same kind of idea, the carpenter and the puppet. So here is a carpenter who has carved himself a wooden boy. So because people know what I do, they are constantly bringing me different forms of Pinocchio. So here is the pencil sharpener Pinocchio. You can imagine where the pencil goes, right in there. And then he opens up his mouth. You can take out the ashes. So here someone brought me not just the pencil sharpener, but the pencil holder. So I could even illustrate to you how Pinocchio, the pencil sharpener, which of course then becomes a useful object. Well, look, ta-da! I have a tape measure whose tape comes out of the nose of Pinocchio when he tells a lie, because that's what it's all about, how we need to behave. Exactly. It's a good story for that. Now, here's one someone brought me just to hang around. He is about the most puppet-like yet that you have seen. I have others, because he moves around a little bit, but you have to help him out. Pinocchio's story is about he wants to be a real boy. And the only way he can become a real boy and not a wooden boy is by learning to tell the truth, by doing good deeds. Now, that should not be all that far-flung for those of us. Now, here is a slightly larger version of Pinocchio who could literally stand on his own, but he's pretty much like the other ones. They all somehow or another come with a big nose. And the truth told, his nose doesn't begin to grow until he tells a lie. So maybe I guess he's been lying already. And then his nose would recess back and be just the size of a little boy. Now, I do have one marionette, which is an Italian word, string puppet of Pinocchio. That is probably the oldest of the string puppets I have of Pinocchio. So I am going to, excuse me while I go stringing along here, bring him out to you. Oops, Pinocchio. Yes, he is. There he is. Okay, here he is. String puppet. Marionette does not mean string puppet. It means little Mary. You can see this is Pinocchio. He is not a little Mary. Nope. He's a little Pinocchio. But the marionette word comes from the stories that were told about the Gospels. Jesus, Joseph, and Mary. And they were told with little puppets, little Marys. But in fact, they weren't string puppets at all. So the word marionette, say, in other countries, but our own means any puppet, not a string puppet. So this is Pinocchio. He was made by a rather famous company in the, let's see if I can get his year. Do you have a year in here, buddy? You do not. Oh dear, he was made by a company that we know pretty well now that makes stuffed animals, the Gund Company, right? And so look at him very carefully. Kind of cute, don't you think? I think he's looking at you. His head is not carved of wood. His head is made of plastic. So we know that he can't be that old because plastic hasn't been around that long. And he has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 strings, 3 on each side, and of course the most important string, which is called the bow string. So when you pick it up, he takes a bow. Let him come to you. Here. Okay, take a bow. Nice job, Pinocchio. So in order to work him, what you have to do is move cleverly the string. So if you wanted Pinocchio to wave at you, you'd lift up this string right here. Hey, everybody out there, it's me, Pinocchio. I am trying really hard to be a good little boy. I have my friend Jiminy Cricket who makes me tell the truth because he is my conscience. We all have them. And Pinocchio had his. Mr. Disney made the Jiminy Cricket character very, very more important than it was in the book. So, but that's the way of life, right? And we love his songs. So this is Pinocchio. And he wants to be a boy, and he has to tell the truth to be a good little boy. So here is another character that was brought to me, not a Pinocchio, but made in Italy. Beautiful craftsmanship. So here he is. What you think? What could we do with him? He's kind of clownish, and he hangs around. And up here, I will show you. I would read it to you, but the truth told, I don't read Italian yet. So this is the word for puppet. Poopy, poopy. Fantastic. So it sounds like puppet, but it isn't puppet. So many things come from our beautiful country of Italy. And one of the most famous puppeteers whose name was Remo Buffano, came to America with his family. And he was born in 1834. I think it's the story of his life. And he was a most amazing man. He came to America, and his family settled in Greenwich Village, which was filled with artists. And he was so amazing. He did pretty much everything with puppets, and the story of his puppet life is one to be read. He did do a wonderful staging of Pinocchio, but he was also very famous for doing operas, theater, live theater, using puppets in cooperation with actors, and was probably the most famous of the puppeteers in the early 20th century. There was one very successful story he did. It was called Be a Puppet Showman. And I would love to see it, but I'm not sure that it's available. There is, however, and perchance we will have a chance to tell it together, a story that was written by Hans Christian Andersen called Be a Puppeteer. So I think that's something to look forward to for me and hopefully for you. So this is me, Marilyn Price, telling you stories. Today we are appearing on a new site and then eventually returning to an old site. But you can always find me on my Facebook page. You can always find me in cooperation with the Mentor Project, who does amazing, wonderful work. And you can look for me on my LinkedIn page. And oh, yes, what else do we have? Oh, a brand new place, Troy Braining Inc., a wonderful foundation that does educational stuff. So here we are, we're being educational and entertaining. The word for that is edutainment. And last but not least, there will be a place for you to see all of this on YouTube. I thank you very much for coming. This is Marilyn Price, Italian style. No matter what you have for dinner, if you happen to have a pizza pasta, think of our Italian friend Striganana, but don't think of me as Grandma Witch, because I'm not. Thanks for coming, and it has been a treat to take you on this tour.